China has just made a shocking immigration move, opening its borders to 75 countries with visa-free entry. Yes, you heard that right. 75 nations can now travel to China without applying for a visa. This is one of the boldest shifts in global travel policy we've seen in years. But is your country on that list? Stay with me until the end of this video, where I'll reveal the full breakdown of all 75 countries, so you can find out if you're one of the lucky ones. To truly understand how massive this policy shift is, let's take a quick look at what China's visa rules looked like just a couple of years ago. Before the pandemic, China had some of the most restrictive visa requirements in the world. Tourists, business travelers, even students, most had to go through a detailed and often stressful application process just to visit. You needed to submit a full itinerary in advance, with confirmed hotel bookings for every night of your stay, flight tickets in and out of the country, proof of funds, and sometimes even an invitation letter from someone inside China. And on top of that, you'd have to pay hefty visa fees and possibly attend an in-person appointment. For many, it simply wasn't worth the trouble. Only about 10 to 15 countries had any kind of visa-free access at all. And even then, it was usually very limited, often just for short-term business visits or under special bilateral agreements. For the vast majority of the world, visiting China meant a long, expensive, and uncertain process. But in late 2023, something surprising happened. China quietly launched a small pilot program with 6 countries: France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Spain, and Malaysia. Citizens from those countries were suddenly allowed to enter China visa-free for up to 15 days. No lengthy applications, no embassy visits. It was a cautious experiment, and many saw it as temporary. But the response from tourists, businesses, and airlines was overwhelmingly positive. And that little test ended up opening the door to something much, much bigger. So how did we get from a small pilot of just 6 countries to a massive list of 75 nations now allowed to enter China visa-free? Well, after the success of the initial trial in late 2023, China moved fast. In early 2024, it quietly expanded the program, adding several more countries across Europe and Asia. This brought the total to around 20 nations, and the stays were extended from 15 to 30 days in some cases. By mid-2024, the momentum continued. China saw a sharp rise in international tourist arrivals, many coming from visa-free countries. This proved that relaxing visa policies could directly boost tourism and spending, exactly what the government needed after years of pandemic-related lockdowns and travel restrictions. Then, in June 2025, China made a bold leap. 43 countries were officially granted 30-day visa-free access. This was no longer just a pilot or a quiet experiment, it was a full-blown policy shift. And just 1 month later, in July 2025, another wave of countries was added. This brought the total to an astonishing 75 nations. That's right, 75 countries whose citizens can now enter China without a visa for up to 30 days. It's one of the fastest and most significant visa overhauls in recent history. These changes didn't just happen overnight, they were rolled out in stages, starting with Western Europe, then parts of Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America. Each step was carefully observed by Chinese authorities before expanding further. And now, in just under 2 years, China has gone from being one of the hardest places to visit to one of the most open in terms of visa-free access. So the big question is, why is China doing this now? Why suddenly open its doors to 75 countries after years of strict control? The answer lies in 3 key areas: tourism, economics, and diplomacy. First, let's talk about tourism. China's tourism industry took a massive hit during the pandemic. International arrivals dropped to historic lows, and domestic tourism struggled to recover. By removing the visa barrier for dozens of countries, China is sending a clear message: we're open for business, come visit. And it's working. In 2024 alone, over 20 million tourists entered China through visa-free programs, and that number is expected to double by the end of this year. Second, the economic angle. More tourists means more spending on hotels, restaurants, local tours, shopping, and transport. This move is a strategic play to inject money into local economies and boost small businesses that rely heavily on international visitors. And finally, diplomacy. China is using visa policy as a soft power tool. By offering visa-free entry to countries in Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America, it's strengthening bilateral relationships and building goodwill, especially at a time when global tensions remain high. It also helps counter the perception that China is closed off or hard to access. This isn't just a tourism strategy, it's a global image reset. China wants to be seen as welcoming, connected, and open to the world, and expanding visa-free access is a fast and effective way to do that. Who benefits from this? So who exactly benefits from this massive visa-free expansion? First and foremost, tourists. If you're from one of the 75 eligible countries, you can now visit iconic Chinese destinations like the Great Wall, the Terracotta Army, or the skyscrapers of Shanghai without spending weeks applying for a visa. This removes a huge barrier for casual travelers who were previously put off by the complicated process. But it doesn't stop there. Business travelers also gain a lot from this change. No more embassy appointments or waiting for approvals. Now they can attend meetings, explore partnerships, or visit trade shows in China with just a passport and a plane ticket. Then there are students, influencers, digital nomads, and travel vloggers. With 30 days visa-free, they can explore China's rich culture, history, and modern life, and create content that reaches a global audience. This indirectly helps promote China as a more open and exciting destination. Even airlines and travel agencies are cashing in. More demand for flights means new routes, more seat bookings, and increased business for tour operators who are now tailoring packages specifically for visa-free travelers. And for China, it's a win too. More visitors equals more money spent in the local economy, more cultural exchange, and more global visibility. Who's missing? And restrictions. Now, while this visa-free expansion is impressive, not everyone made the list. In fact, some major countries are still noticeably absent. Let's start with the United States. Despite being one of the world's biggest travel markets, U.S. passport holders are not eligible for visa-free entry to China. They still need to apply through the traditional visa process, with all the paperwork and fees that come with it. The same goes for Canada, the United Kingdom, India, and several Nordic countries like Sweden and Norway. While some of these may qualify for short-term transit without a visa, usually for layovers under 144 hours, it's not the same as full visa-free access. So why were these countries left out? There are a few possible reasons: diplomatic tensions, concerns about reciprocal treatment, or simply strategic decisions by Chinese authorities to prioritize friendlier or more economically beneficial relationships first. And even for the 75 countries that are eligible, there are some important restrictions to keep in mind. Number 1, the visa-free stay is limited to 30 days. You cannot work, study long-term, or overstay your welcome. Number 2, you may be required to show proof of onward travel and accommodation bookings upon arrival. And number 3, if you're planning multiple trips, not all visa-free entries can be back-to-back. Some travelers may be flagged for repeated visits without a formal visa. So yes, it's a huge step forward. But it's not a free-for-all. Visitors still need to follow the rules and respect the terms of their entry. Full list, the 75 visa-free countries. All right, this is the moment you've been waiting for. Here is the full list of all 75 countries whose citizens can now enter China visa-free for up to 30 days. I'll go through them by region, so listen closely to see if your country made the cut. Under Europe, we have Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Latvia, Liechtenstein, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, Monaco, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Serbia, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, North Macedonia, Montenegro, Andorra, Monaco. For Asia and Middle East, we have Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Israel, Japan, Kazakhstan, Kuwait, Malaysia, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Thailand. For Americas, we have Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Peru, Uruguay. Under Oceania, we have Australia, New Zealand, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Tonga. For Africa, we have Mauritius, Seychelles, Tunisia. Additional in Eurasia, we have Bahamas, Barbados, Belarus, Brunei, Ecuador, Mexico, Panama, Russia, Suriname, Turkey, Uzbekistan. And finally, Azerbaijan officially added July 16, 2025. And there you have it, 75 countries. If you heard your nation on that list, congratulations. You can now visit China for up to 30 days without needing a visa. And if your country isn't listed just yet, don't lose hope. China has hinted at expanding this program even further, so your turn may be next. So there you have it, 75 countries that can now enter China completely visa-free for up to 30 days. Whether you're planning a holiday, a business trip, or just curious to explore, this could be your chance to experience China with zero visa hassle. Was your country on the list? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And if it wasn't, do you think it should be next? Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any major immigration updates from around the world. This is Visa Pathway UK, bringing you global mobility news that matters. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.